Good evening, yoginis and yogins. Thanks for coming. Let's start in simple sukhasana. So that's simple cross-legged position. Obviously make sure you've got if your knees are tight or your back is squashed, a couple of blocks. I'm just elevating myself like this to show how it drops the knees. And when the knees are dropped, you don't get such a sort of torquing or pulling on the knees if they are tight. So sitting up on a couple of blocks or one block. If you're on 2 blocks, put a blanket underneath your shins. So it's sukhasana on blocks or not. And then eyes closed. You can either gently pull on your shin or rest your hands on your legs, palms up, or even palms down if you wanted. Of course, that changes the anatomical position from external rotated shoulders, if we've got the palms up, to internal rotated shoulders with the palms down. Breath through the nose, shoulders down, head up, bum relaxed. Soften the lower back. Observing tension and letting it go. Inhaling to lift. Exhaling to turn. Very simple. Jaw passive, eyes passive, brain passive, throat passive, tongue passive. Everything that can be passive is passive. Lift and turn all the way around the other way. Same thing. So again, passive where we can be, buttocks, shoulders, softness in the lower back. So if there's any gripping as a sort of mental modality, that can release. And then returning simply to center. Deep natural breaths. Change the cross of the legs to the other ones in front. So whichever one you had in front before. Again, you can draw the buttock flesh out and back. Again, if you were using a blanket, for example, if you're on 2 blocks, then you need a blanket underneath the shins. So that's worth putting them. Then eyes closed if you find that useful as a way of sort of quietening the busy mind. Soft knees, soft brain, soft jaw, soft shoulders. Inhaling to lift. Exhaling to turn. Doesn't matter which way you turn first because we're going to turn both ways, obviously. Observing the body to look for flow. To really look for flow. Lift and turn. Keep going around the other way. Jaw soft. Again, observing flow, or wherever there's a lack thereof. For example, in the neck, the roots of the neck, the chest, the shoulders. Nice and calm and slow release back to center. Bharadvajasana. So if you're not on a block, it's useful to sit on one. It's possible you might want to sit on 2, which works very, very well. Both legs over to one side. Shin on top of foot arch. That's simple. Lifting and shifting. Getting comfortable. Inhaling, lifting and turning without lifting the back legs. So this is Bharadvajasana. And the skill, I think, one of the main skills of Bharadvajasana is not lifting that leg that you've turned away from, which can lift when there's tension. And tension, of course, is associated with upadana, reaching out. Reaching out is always driven by a sense of objective, something we want, something that we're trying to move towards. And as soon as you make an object, you simultaneously make a subject. And then that's the very division that yoga's mitigating, looking to mitigate the division between subject and object. So, that simple release of the symptom of tension, the lifting of the back leg, if we make sure we don't lift that back leg, it's passive. That helps to negate the duality of subject-object, which is a habit, that yoga is moving us out of into what yoga calls, or the Yogacara tradition, experience only. Good job, back to center. Similarly, legs extending, take a little rub down. So you're starting to feel a little bit of gentle vitality, a bit of flow through the body, through the mind. And then the legs will go to the second side for the same pose, Bharadvajasana. Remember, the shin is on the foot arch, and the foot arch points across the mat. And again, that same noticing recognition of passivity in that back leg as you lift and turn away. So it's really it's quite subtle. And it's all about attachment. It's not about getting rid of something, not having particular qualities, and having others in its place. It's simply about attachment. So we have these drives, these urges, these inclinations, these pathways. Whether they're there or not is not what yoga is concerned about, but whether we're attached or not. So we might feel the urge to reach out, to grasp, to objectify, to try and get. We almost certainly will feel that. So non-attachment is like letting it be, allowing. So deep, natural breath, calm brain, calm body. Aparigraha, empty of grasping. And what's great, we just notice that physically. Right, okay, gently coming out of Bharadvajasana. Still going to sit on a block. We're going to extend our legs out. Sitting on a block, as I mentioned, you can sit on two again, but if you're on two, you're going to need another block behind you. Legs are extended straight out. You might use a belt, actually, so it's worth having one nearby. It's quite handy for these kind of postures. If you're sideways on like I am, then bend the leg furthest away from the screen. But if you've got it set up a different way, that's totally fine. It doesn't matter. We're going to step out the straight leg just a little bit away from the midline. We're going to pull down on the shin and lift up in the lower back, which I think feels really points to spaciousness, and spaciousness and flow go together, don't they? We want spaciousness and flow, breath and ease, experience only. So I think it's just super to spend a bit of time like this. I'm gently swaying so as to avoid the three gurus, as I call them, gripping, grasping, grabbing. Now, if you're ready, you can turn, so you turn away from your bent leg, either bring your arm to the inside of the bent leg like this is Marichyasana number 1, or you can reach forwards and then round underneath the leg, and this is where you might use a pata, a belt, to bridge the gap between the hands. Shin length, arm length, torso length, all affect this pose. It's breath-centered. There's an easefulness. Quite delicious, I think. Marichyasana. Number 1, just the twist part. We're not doing there's a forward fold part. We're just concentrating on the twist part of Marichasana number 1 as it fits in with the flow of our class tonight. Good job, everyone. Gentle, calm release. I'm going to move to the other end of my mat so I still face you, but there's no need for you to move. It's just a sort of thing that the person guiding the class might do. You're going to bend the other leg when you're ready. Similarly, lift, lightness, height, spaciousness. Just going to hop that straight leg out to the side, just a little bit. And then I could spend ages just massaging and lifting and massaging the lower back in these meditative ways. So there's a lovely sense of flow, a lovely sense of ease, a lovely sense of space, a lovely sense of opening, a lovely sense of calmness. If ready, if you want to, you either bring your arm forwards like you did before against your leg like this, or you can just hold the leg and twist. That's really nice too. Or you extend. Now I've gone to the foot or a little bit beyond, but you don't have to. It's just about getting your body through your leg and then the wrap around indirectly or directly. That is to say, using a belt or holding one wrist with the other hand. Those that can, the palms face away from the way your chest is facing. That is if you're holding the wrist, one hand holding the other wrist. Marichasana number 1. Really, I think it's just brilliant in terms of massaging the thoracolumbar fascia. It pushes loads of hyaluronic acid out of various areas, which means when we release, we're going to get a lot of hyaluronic acid rushing back in. And we know from previous classes and from research that when it comes back in, it will be in greater quantities than it was originally. So we're going to feel more flow. Breathing deep, breathing honest, breathing natural, playful, investigative, spacious, easeful. Well done. Gorgeous, I think. Release nice and easy. We're going to lay on our backs. We're going to use the same block that was just under our bum to put it under our head. Scoot the buttocks under. Give yourself a couple of deep breaths, hands resting on the lower ribs. Take 3, 4, 5, or 6 of those really deep breaths, those really natural breaths. Just observing release in the lower back that's connected to release in the breath. When you're ready, raise up either leg. Dorsi-plantar flex, circle, half circle, scrunch, unscrunch, shake, whatever brings honest life. Like it's, we're not deepening habit patterns, tendencies, inclinations. Sometimes we muddle up energetic inclinations for authenticity. But energetic inclinations and drives are actually exactly what yoga is stepping out of, because yoga is about freedom, and being driven is exactly that. You're not free. You're kind of compelled. And those drives that are in the nervous system, of course, are conditioned not by ourselves, not by personal choice, but by society, how it's built up in complicated ways over thousands and thousands of years. Familial biases, political biases, the bias of the particular things we've seen, the biases from past lives, the tradition would say, and so on. So we're not getting attached to inclinations as if they're authentic or myself. Or, if they feel driven and compulsive, then that's normally a sort of sign to non-attachment, meaning to let it be, but without grasping it. It's actually the kindest thing you can do. Now, hopefully, during this rather long speech, you've massaged and loosened your leg, and then we can now turn your heel in, cross that leg over the other, plunge through, Supta Shayana, Supta Suchirandrasana, my apologies. Shayana, you could call it Shayana, actually, because it means resting. Suchirandra, resting, threading the needle. breathe through your nose. See if you can disappear. So, sometimes you need to use a thorn to remove a thorn. Like the Tantra says, sometimes it says you need to use passion to remove passion, or poison to remove poison. That's the very tantric sort of way of things. And what it's really saying is similar to Patanjali, which is, you can use a samskara to remove another samskara, or similar to early Buddhism, when the Buddha says you might use a smaller piece of wood to knock a larger piece of wood out. So you challenge compulsions that you're stuck on by creating a sensation that is more than equal to it. It knocks it into the long grass. And then it's the long grass that we want to recognize. And we keep doing it. So whatever accumulates in consciousness as a habit or compulsion, just keep knocking it into the long grass. Let's release that leg. Place both feet down. Scoot the buttocks. Take some deep breath. It's plural. So really nice to take a few of these deep breaths, I think. Temples soft, sacrum relaxed, shoulders relaxed, brain relaxed. Up comes the other leg. Similarly, dorsal plantar flex, circle, half circle, scrunching, unscrunching, shaking. Again, there's a sort of near enemy thing. This is a phrase from Buddhism, the near enemy. There's often something that seems like one thing, but it actually is the opposite. So sometimes we're giving the leg a shake, but it might be coming out of a sort of urgency, that's a drive that is in our nervous system, like an unsettledness, that isn't actually us. Our nervous system is not personal. It's conditioned by the fact that we have roads where we live. It's conditioned by the fact that there's news, whether or not we listen to it. It's conditioned by the fact the people we live with, or what people we have lived with, assumptions we've made, what's called the alaya vijnana, this storehouse of consciousness that propels our perception and therefore our behavior. Heel in, toes out, and when ready, plunge through, interlace. See if you can find some juicy sensations. Don't hold the breath. Look for real, wordlessness, richness, breath, wordlessness, richness, and breath. Meditate. Disappear. Fall in love, which is a sort of opening up, isn't it? Opening up to the way things are in the present, rather than being blinded to the present by compulsions in the nerves. So remember, all of this is about moksha, freedom, and the opposite to moksha is compulsive and habituated behaviors that are, in a sense, zombie-like. So use a rich sensation to knock other rich sensations out and leave us in an open state, in the long grass, as I call it. Nice and easy. If you're ready to release, go ahead and release. Roll over onto your side. Bend the leg you're laying on. So you got like a 90 degree kind of shazzle going on. And then inner groin stretches out multiple times with a meditative intention. So stretching with intent. Sounds like a crime, but the intent is meditation. And meditation is subject, object, merged in each other to result. The maths is subject plus object, merged together, equals experience only. Normally we don't have experience only, do we? We have a sense of the objective out there happening to me, and then we have the sense of me over here with things happening to it. Experience only comes when we swim in the sea and we forget ourselves, or we dance and dance until we've forgotten ourselves and there's only the dance left. Can't tell the dance from the dancer. That's experience only. That's vijñapti-mātra. When ready, tummy in, lift and turn. Elbows, forearms and wrists on the floor. Really good opportunity to massage for the purpose of absorption. Massage the thoracolumbar fascia. Breathe without holding the breath. Turn, turn, turn. Turn the deep tummy, pull the chest forwards. Breathe through the nose. Expressive, honest, natural, playful, purposing. I've compared it to wiping clean water up with a clean cloth. So as you move the cloth, the water absorbs into it. Similarly here, there's this sense of reabsorption. The objective is reabsorbed into the subjective, and the subjective reabsorbed into the objective, like smelling a rose. You smell a rose for a second, there's no subject and object, is there? Everything is suffused with rose. That's all there is. No subject, no object. That's called vijñāna-vāda, the way of experience only. Top leg on top of the bottom leg, just curl on up when you're ready. And similarly, on the other side, same thing really. Bent leg, 90 degrees, 90 degrees. There's actually 3 sets of 90 degrees between the thigh and the other thigh, between the thigh and the tummy, and between the calf and the thigh. We extend the inner groin with a view to, it's not a sort of ultra dreaminess, it's reabsorption. Again, ultra dreaminess is like near enemy, where we're sort of generating this sort of experience that we're having, but it's mentally generated. Whereas what we want here is the flow, to be open to the flow of experience. And that means not making it into subject-object division, which is something that happens, like the Tantra says, you use a thorn to remove a thorn, you use poison to remove poison, and so on. Tummy draws in, lift and turn when you're ready. Breathe through your nose. Massage it into the back. Purposefully. Massage it into the back. Purposefully. So the purpose is disappearing, isn't it? To disappear. That means the separate subject disappears and the separate permanently existing object disappeared. And all there is experience only. Like you've already experienced so many times, but for sometimes quite short periods of time. That's experience only, isn't it? When you disappear into a kiss or a hug or the sun on your face or the swimming in the sea, it's experience only. Down, top leg on top of the bottom leg, curl up. Bring yourself to your hands and knees, please. Take a breath or two. I quite like something really simple is just to notice how the wrists move when the pelvis moves. So try circles and feel how your wrists do circles. Circles with the pelvis equals circles with the wrists. One direction of the pelvis, same direction for the wrist. There's something about noticing the selflessness, your wrists aren't driving the action, and it's important and useful to notice that. You could try figures of 8 with the pelvis and notice how your wrists, if you're passive, will also do figures of 8, one direction and the other direction. So that's just beautiful, actually. Just so simple. You can lose yourself in that. And we're going to lift up in Adho Mukha Svanasana. So we're noticing terms like you can lose yourself. Like there's that book by Rebecca Solent, I think her name, The Art of Getting Lost. Such a great title. A great woman, actually. I saw a little talk with her and Caroline Lucas last year. It was really fantastic. Get those palms to meditate. Now we know what meditation means. It means subject and object reabsorbed into each other and equaling experience only. Hence, chop wood, carry water kind of vibe in Zen. It's exactly, Zen is based on the Yogacara philosophy, as well as the Madhyamaka philosophy. So in other words, it's based on this way of yoga, which is the unification of subject-object into experience only, plus the perhaps slightly earlier tradition of everything is emptiness or space. These are just not beliefs, but techniques. What's called upaya, skillful means. Armpits, stretch, stretch, stretch. Inner, outer, under. Breath, breath, breath. Waves through the back. Well done, everyone. Nice and calm. Come back to hands and knees. Once you've had a moment to kind of move around this way, move around that way, whatever you want to do, then raise one arm and the opposite leg. Palm facing medially, tummy toned, breath through the nose. Calmness conditions connection. It's one of our Vajrasati phrases, isn't it? The 3 C's of Vajrasati. Okay, back. You calm. Same on the other side. Deep breaths, please. Movements that are expressive but not driven. It's different, isn't it? Like we can be sort of expressing a sort of inclination to be sort of spaced out or dreamy or, indulging in a sort of fantasy, which is still mind created. But the tradition says, no, mind disappears, subject, object disappear. That's something, gosh, it's, you can't do it because that's still you, that's still subject, isn't it? So you look for the richness, you feel the richness, you breathe into the richness, you look for stretch. Okay, well done. Back down to hands and knees. Take a breath or two, a bit more movement of the pelvis. And when you're ready, we're going to come into Gomukhasana. So I'm turning around for this one. Legs over to one side and top leg over the bottom leg. Little lift and shift. I like to do it with 1 foot back, 1 foot forwards. It makes a bit more space. Remember, space equals flow. And flow is non-attachment. So it's really, really nice to feel spacious, breath-centered, honest, playful, lila, and to avoid the snakes and the ladders. So the way I'm avoiding the snakes and the ladders is just to move side to side. Massage out a lot of the tensions. Breathing through the nose. Playful. Sometimes we can really feel this on our iliotibial tracts in the outer leg, right up to the hip, what we might call the hip. Breath, breath, breath. I've always really loved this pose. I remember being a younger yoga teacher and, staying for a really long time with students in this pose. Back through in the 90s when I was teaching then. We stay quite a really long time. And I think it's, there's real wisdom in that. It's kind of interesting being a young yoga teacher, going through the whole arc of yoga teaching over years, being like nobody, no reputation, not really that many skills. And that being quite an open time, I just taught the way I felt like teaching, and they're very, very honest. Then you can sort of build up a bit of a reputation. Then you can get stuck in sort of crowd pleasing, trying to maintain your reputation, trying to be someone. And then you come back to the bare bones honesty of being able to melt subject and object into each other. But careful of the sentence, even being able implies subject, doesn't it? Somebody's doing something. They're melting something into something else. But nobody's doing this. It's like a kiss or like dancing. Proper dancing, nobody's doing it, are they? That's when things are beautiful. When nobody's doing it. Okay, nice and easy. Release when you're ready. And obviously, we're going to go around for the other leg, the other side. So when you're ready, swing the legs over. I think I mentioned you can sit on a block for this, so you can and should if you need to. Again, a bit of lifting and a bit of shifting, and then breathing into it. I've got my hands on my knees. You could have them on the floor. You could have them in prayer. Head in line with the spine, breath flowing. Aparigraha is just peace. Aparigraha means not really grasping. But that's not quite obviously not something you do. You don't do not grasping. What it is just another way of describing peace. That's a lovely pose again, I think hopefully you can feel what I feel, which is release in layers. We're going to release out of that. We're going to bring our leg out of that and into Baddha Konasana. Now, if you happen to have a wall or something, anything you can sit, take a block, like this kind of block, put it against the wall so it's on the floor on its highest height, and then nudge right back up against it. So your sacrum can go against it. So it can be a wall, it can be a cupboard, it can be a radiator, it could be a sofa. But the idea is to really get the pelvis nudged up against it. I'm super lucky here because there's a skirting board, and that's just enough for me to get the heel of my hands onto, and I can lift my pelvis using that skirting board. So if you're lucky enough to have that available, then you might as well use it. The idea of pushing down and lifting up, as you can see, as I go up, my bum's off the floor now, my legs go down because I pulled the psoas muscle from the inner groins upwardly, making it really long. And if I can maintain that, then the legs will stay relatively low and the spine will stay relatively lifted. You can hold your feet, or you can stay lifting up your pelvis if you've got the facilities to do that. And the idea of having a block against the wall, of course, is to keep the sacrum, the bony plate above the tail and below the waist, upright. Keep the sacrum upright. Keep breathing through your nose if you can. Natural, honest, expressive. Lovely soft feeling in the temples, in the forehead, in the jaw. Breath, breath, breath. Breathing through your nose helps the air to be hydrated and warmed and filtered and slowed. On the inhale, all of that happens. So Baddha Konasana is a great one to stay with. I've recounted many times that one of my favorite classes I ever went to is run by my old friend. I haven't seen him for years now, David Ronchetti, at the old Evolution Arts at Silwood Terrace in Hove, Brighton Hove border. And I reckon it was probably in 1996, 95, 96. And one of the reasons I loved it, not that I knew that I was going to love it for that, is that he kept us in Baddha Konasana so long. It's really lovely. Back in the days before smartphones. So releasing in layers. Breathing deep. Okay. So it's a lovely one to stay longer, but very gently. Sadly, from my point of view anyway, we're going to come out of it. We're going to come onto hands and knees. And again into Adho Mukha Svanasana, the beautiful downward facing dog position, which will send energy up in waves. Breathing through the nose. Heels back, thighs up at the front is a lovely soft feeling that is accompanied by a supportive depth from the back of the thighs. So there's those three things are actually simultaneous. The heels go back, the front thighs and shins go up, and the back of the thighs come forwards. There's a sort of sequence to that, like a krama. A krama means a sequence in Sanskrit. So it's a sort of one flows into the other, heels back, thighs, shins up, back of the thighs, forwards. Armpits stretching open, inner, outer, under. And the more you go up, the more you release down. So sometimes people get this wrong and try and get their heads close to the floor, and they collapse in doing so, but we're not collapsing. The more you go up, the more you go down as a result of the up. It's like being like a puppet on strings. As a result of the up, the head releases down. Well done, everyone. Slow and calm, bring your shoulders forwards above the wrists. Even if there are wrist problems, this is the kind of thing that's very useful, especially if you understand the feeling attitude to yoga. You've understood, you understand that yoga is about feeling your way into it. Breath, 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 breath. Okay, here we go. Chaturanga into head up dog. So Chaturanga Dandasana through to Urdhva Mukha Svanasana with tone in the tummy. Back of the arms down towards the heels of the hands. Chest lifting. Breath deep. Such a good pose. Urdhva Mukha Svanasana. Head up. Dog position. Okay, drop the knees. I could just stay in that one. It's so lovely. Back to hands and knees, bit of a massage. Again, you could observe the way the pelvic movement is completely mirrored simultaneously by the wrists in a way that's really selfless, in a lovely way. When ready, bring the, let's say, right knee forwards to the back of the right wrist, stays there, foot moves diagonally across, and you stretch back, slow and calm. Most of us will get an instantaneous release of the breath when we come down to the elbows, but so that's a good thing to do. Therefore, or you can lift up and lightly tone the tummy, which is another good thing to do. But it's breath and calmness and space and openness. Breath and calmness and openness and space. It was about the ability to feel moving in is related directly to sloughing off. That, a sort of sense of release, coming more and more deeply, sense of calmness. That's what we're looking for. That's how you know you're going the right direction and not down the path of a near enemy. Something that's similar but not it. If you're up in the pose, come down a little way to tuck under the back toes. If you're down, come up a little way. Either way, we tuck under the back toes, bring the back knee forwards, come back to hands and knees. Catch a breath. Again, a little spontaneity with a bit of movement of the pelvis. Nice and calm, breath centered. Other knee forwards, directly behind the wrist. The foot moves diagonally across the body. You stretch back at a pace that feels appropriate. As I mentioned before, most of us will feel a deep breath release when we come down. Some will feel that when they're up. So in the majority, you're going to get that deep breath release coming down. That's definitely the way. And of course, what we're looking for is deep breath release, which is, symptomatic of shedding karmic particles, dropping. So karmic particles are what propel us, what the Yogacara calls alaya vijnana, but the Jain tradition calls karmic particles, is basically the same thing. It's that which colors, the Sanskrit word lesha, our perception, and therefore conditions our responses, our behaviors, which then go on to condition the responses we get back from the world, which continue to color our perception, and on and on. That's called samsara, cycling round. Breathing through the nose if you can. course, movement might come as part of the whole feeling of shedding. If you're up, come down a bit. If you're down, come up a bit. Tuck under the back toes. Bring the back knee forwards. Come back to hands and knees. Bring yourself down to your forearms. Please breathe through your nose if you can. Hands as if you're holding bunches of flowers. Guess it won't be that long until we see the daffodils. Some people have told me they've even seen some already. You certainly got the daffodil leaves coming up. Anyway, so you're holding bunches of flowers. Got snowdrops in our back garden, like 4 of them, but they're gorgeous. Breathe through your nose, move backwards, forwards, left, right. As I quite like stacking one leg on top of the other, or even one foot, like I'm doing here, on top of the other. It's like a little adventure into the world of difference, something different. And then similarly, if you did that on one leg, it can either be the leg resting completely on top or toes tucked under on top of the other leg, like I'm doing here. So it really produces a lot of belly tone. Back to center, down you come. I'm sure you don't mind coming down. Up onto your forearms. Stretch your tummy, stretch your legs several times until the legs not only stretch, the inner groin, the front groin, but also are turned to face down and brought towards each other. So 3 things: lifting the legs to bring them closer, lifting the legs to turn the thighs to face straight down, and lifting the legs to stretch the inner and front groins. We're not only stretching the legs back, we're stretching the tummy forwards. As I'm sure you know, the psoas runs from the inner groin across the lateral outer edge of your pubic bone, so you can feel it pulled back there underneath the belly, and then attaches to the sides of the lower spine. So stretching the lower spine forwards and stretching the legs back is stretching the same muscle in 2 directions. Bring your hands by your ribs, fingers face forwards, breathe through your nose. And this relatively simple position is enough. You can breathe into that. I get a lot out of it. I can feel the gluteal muscles, hamstring muscles are active. Another stage which I find useful because it engages, it brings a little bit, ups the ante, so it engages my back, is to bring my hands off the floor. That's optional. But it is useful, particularly if you're coming to another station, which is where you push your hands down and come up into the gorgeous Bhujangasana, a pose I think is very important for us to practice, whether we like it or not. And that we should bring snake-like elements to it in the mode of movement, the feeling tone of movement. So it's got a sort of sassiness to it, like the music of that song from the Jungle Book, Trust in Me, which is sung by the snake. We feel our spinal column like a sort of living sensation that you can move and feel and adapt and make spacious and make deep. So we're not doing shapes, we're disappearing into consciousness only. And for me, this is a slow burn. It's one I want to stay a long time in, 5 minutes at least. But we're going to come down just in case it's not so much fun for you. May or may not be, but rest your head. Breathe through your nose. Let go of the buttocks. Take expressive deep breaths, several of them. Not just one, not just 2, but several expressive, honest, deep breaths. Stretch the legs, bring them close. Stretch the tummy, bring it forwards. Legs and tummy, opposite directions. Remember the 2 ends of the psoas. And know that this is definitely enough, this stretching forward, stretching backwards, for beginning to bring some fluidity, some space, some awareness to the spinal column. There's the opportunity, if you wanted to, for the hands to rest on the floor by the ribs. That brings another sensation. Or to lift the hands off, which, as I said, is a preparatory because it switches the back muscles on. Or the pushing down and lifting up back into Bhujangasana. Any of those stations that suits you. What matters wherever we are is that we're feeling the spinal column directly and feeling that sort of snake-like sassiness so that you can disappear into direct experience. As a subject-object, we've got the object, which is the pose, and we've got the subject that the pose is happening to, and the subject that wants a certain idea of what the object is. The objective is to look a certain way or whatever. But when you disappear, there is no subject-object, there's just experience only. And then the minutiae of movement becomes incredible. You know, the things that can happen when there's no subject because of the unification. You know, everything is consciousness only, and consciousness has powers. It just does. You know, thinking that I am the one to do things really doesn't work out, does it? We're never at our best when we're self-conscious, self-isolated, self-focused in that way. So let's disappear. A couple more breaths if you can. Again, you have to forgive me because for me it's a pose. Once you get into the subtlety of the depth of the spinal column, I could definitely just keep playing with it. It's beautiful. We're going to come down, rest one hand on top of the other. Deep, honest breaths, please. Several of them would be good. Jaw soft, eyes soft. A magnificent feeling of release of the buttocks, release of the hamstrings, release of the back muscles. Breath, 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 breath. Back under your toes, and you can stretch your legs back. Get the heels really stretching back. Make a bit of space that way. When you're ready, we're going to roll over onto our side for one more little twist, the same one we did before, but a repeat. So bend one leg, spaciously extend the inner groin, suck in the tongue, and gently lift. Turn, elbows, forearms and wrists. Meditation on disappearance of oneself. Remember, the Buddha used to call himself the Tathagata. Tata means thus. Gata means gone, to go. But agata means to arrive. So thus gone, thus arrived. Turning from the pubis to the chest multiple times. Top leg on top of the bottom leg. Curl on up when you're ready. Come up from the side and swap around for the last time of this twist, this lovely twist. Tummy draws in. Inner groin soft and stretched. And if you're ready, lift and turn. Elbows, forearms and wrists. Breath, breath, breath. Turn that tummy. Pull that chest forwards. Turn that tummy. More breaths, couple more stretches if you can. Top leg on top of the bottom leg, curl up. Siddhasana, if you're comfortable with a brick block. Heels lined up with the midline of the body and with each other. Buttock flesh drawn out and back. Sending 3 aums through the central channel. So we know this mantra uchara practice where you visualize and feel the mantra moving up from the pelvic floor. And the better you visualize it, the better you feel it, the more effect it will have. And of course, the effect is to bring us into non-duality. So aum 3 times. Deep breath to the pelvic floor for the first. So inhale. Aum. 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 And then deep breaths to relax. Shoulders down. Breath honest, breath natural, breath easy. Really relaxed bum. That's it. Really relaxed thighs. Mind goes with that, doesn't it? Relaxed pelvis. Expressive naturalness. Going to come into our shavasana posture, so nice and quiet. And lay ourselves down for this very, very important practice, actually. Very important, so much so that it's been practiced right the way through the yoga tradition, going back to early Buddhist practitioners, going through to Shaiva, Gopalikas, through into the Hatha tradition. We find it in the Dattatreya Yoga Shastra. So make sure you always do your Shavasana. So get yourself warm, get yourself comfortable, commit yourself to the ground, give away all your samskaras to gravity. So when you're ready, laying down, palms up, shoulder blades scooted under, nice and warm, I hope. Warm enough. And then we'll close our eyes so that the eyelids act as mudras, that is, little sort of seals, you could say. And having closed the eyelids, even if there's movement underneath, gradually the effect of the mudra is to settle any movement, any restlessness behind the eyes. And eventually we feel, as described in the Dattatreya Yoga Shastra, a release through the optic nerves, through to the back of the skull, the occipital lobe of the brain. And there, consciousness settles at the back of the skull. It's settled. In a muscle and bone, saying yes. Soft, released every single part of the body. Buttocks, pelvis, tummy, chest. It's all soft and saying yes. Arms, facial muscles, legs, feet, the whole of the body. The great joy of Zoom yoga is you can do it from anywhere around the world, but you can also lay in shavasana as long as you've got, as long as you want, as long as it feels good. So feel free to lay on. And at the time when you're coming up, and it might be now, but it might be in 5-10 minutes, you'll start by moving toes and fingers at that time. Well, it doesn't have to be this time, it's whenever it is. Taking natural stretches before bending the legs, and all the normal scooting the buttocks under, releasing the lower back, taking deeper breaths before rolling onto one side. Bring the knees up, and then we'll roll onto the other side. But as I say, this could be in a while, not necessarily now. And when you come up, you'll come up from the side. But feel free to stay there either way. So from where we are, whether we're sitting or laying, we'll dedicate our merit. We've got a view of the 21 taras, beautiful 21 taras. Beautiful, one of the really lovely gifts from our Rinpoche friend, came last year, and we hope he'll come again this year. I got a text from him yesterday, so it was nice. So we used Tara's bija, which is Tom, T-A-M, in place of Om, but it will mean the same thing here. May any benefit that we've gained in our acting in this way be shared for the alleviation of the suffering of absolutely all beings. Tom. Hmm. Hmm. Thanks, guys. It's such a gift to have you guys coming along. I really appreciate your time very much. And I look forward to seeing you as soon as possible. There's loads of events coming up. There's a gig on Saturday. I hope some of you can make that. There's the book launch and a chair workshop and a belt workshop. It's all coming up in the next few weeks. So hopefully you can see you at some of those things. Mwah. Thank you. Thank you. You're fabulous. You're fabulous. Look after yourself and stay out of trouble. Bye, angels. Hey.